Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature, where every week we sit down with members of the House of Representatives to talk about issues, concerns, legislation moving through the halls of the state capitol. Today and throughout the session, you're going to be hearing a lot about the joint package. It is a collaboration of the House and Senate on an economic package to aggressively and comprehensively address the issue of cost of living here in Hawaii. Nearly half of our working families live paycheck to paycheck. The joint package is aimed at breaking that cycle. Joining us this morning is Representative Tom Brower. He is the chair of the Housing Committee, and Representative Justin Woodson. He is the chair of the Education Committee. Thank you to both of you. Thank you, Tom, for getting up so early.
Thank you.
Walking all the way to the state capitol.
I can come back later.
Yes, you can. But let's start with you then, since you're all ready to go. This joint package. Tell us a little bit about it. I mean, why should we be so excited about this?
The reason it's exciting to me is because in my years at the legislature, there's some things that I wanted to correct, and that was to have more collaboration, more input on our bills. Often a bill might be an individual legislator coming up with an idea. So we've took some ideas regarding housing, then we've met with community members as well as a number of legislative leaders, and we've come up with something that is unique. And we saw that both, besides House members, Senate members, as well as the governor, showed a great interest, and we came out with one voice, and we put this legislation forward.
So let's talk about your particular pillar in this package, and that's the affordable housing. What is in this bill?
When we create legislation, I always feel that let's get back to basics, and let's talk to people who build things on why their view is that we don't have enough affordable housing. And some reoccurring themes came up. One was lack of infrastructure, and another one was cumbersome rules, government regulation. So in the package, we have attempted to overcome some of these shortcomings, and there's funding mechanisms as well as some measures that can reform some government regulation. But at the same time, while we support these measures, we want to air it with the community. So these bills will go through a number of committee hearings, and the public will have further input, and then if all goes well, we will have significant legislature that the governor will support.
Well, it's going to be an interesting session as we go along. Representative Woodson, let's talk about your pillar. One of the data has shown that one of the key obstacles to keeping our working families in that cycle of paycheck to paycheck is the expensive issue of childcare and early learning. Education, that's your pillar. Tell us a little bit about why we should care about this particular package and bill.
But first, let me just say that this is an unprecedented time. For the first time, you have the House of Representatives, the State Senate, the Governor's Office, and the executive, private sector, and also public sector coming together, coalescing around the idea, what can we do to make people's lives better? This is the first time that this is actually happening in the state of the union as it relates to Hawaii. And as it relates to our particular part, we have House Bill 2543. It really provides a platform to provide universal coverage for 3 and 4-year-olds over a 10-year period of time or less.
Now, why the bills have been filed, so people have been having a chance to take a look at them. Your particular the education bill has not yet, I don't believe, has been scheduled for hearing yet. But what kind of pushback, or are you getting any kind of pushback on this, the child care early learning?
Sure, we are. But let me just first say, so this particular proposal, it works with the Department of Human Services and the private sector to more quickly build out access for early learning opportunities. So we want to focus on the underserved communities, but we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to attend an early learning center if they so choose. So we are not only looking at establishing these locations at places where people live, and also where people work, even where potentially people play, like at exercise facilities or yoga studios. And for teachers, we are looking at establishing daycare centers or also early learning centers at their place of work so that they don't have to go off out of their way to drop off their child. They can just go straight to school, drop off their kids in these opportunities to where they're in a safe and environment to which they're learning, and they can go back and do their business as it relates to their classroom setting.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, if I may say.
No, absolutely.
And to your question now, so one of the main issues I think is that people are concerned that our current infrastructure with public preschools is going to be dismantled. Please know that that is not the case. We are working with the Executive Office of Early Learning, which currently administers early learning classrooms across the state of Hawaii, in relation to the Early Learning Board and the Department of Education, the DOE, the BOE, the Board of Regents, and the University of Hawaii. All of this meets a continuum of education spectrum that we're going to take to address the issue of early learning in its totality. And what I'm trying to say is that our Executive Office of Early Learning establishes a very high-quality public pre-K system. In fact, if you take a look at some of the outside organizations like the National Institute for Early Education and Research, they say that our public pre-K system is amongst the best in the country. So we are not going to dismantle that. But what we want to do is really complement some of the efforts that are already happening right now.
That's really important to remember. We're not dismantling anything. And to you, the same question, Representative Brower. Are you hearing any pushback on the bill? I mean,
well, everything goes well in the beginning, and I look forward actually to people bringing a debate, because I always find that in our system of government, we argue about things, we debate, but then after the smoke clears, we always have better legislation. So I really welcome early on people who may have questions about this legislation to come forward, because we do want to, as best we can, take care of those concerns, craft good legislation, and then hopefully turn it into law and look forward to a brighter future.
In the 55 seconds that we have remaining, I have a real quick question for you. This is a package. There is the housing pillar. There is the child care early learning center pillar. There is the addressing the income inequality pillar as it deals with minimum wage and tax relief for working families. Does that mean that if housing legislation goes down, what does that mean? Will it impact?
Well, each item can live on its own, but in legislation as well as in your personal life, everything is better with a holistic approach, because everyone depends on everyone else. And what people might not realize is anything that I want to attempt to do at the legislature, I need people who may disagree with me to support my issue. So there really is a collaboration that's mandatory and needs to take place.
Okay. Well, thanks to both of you for getting up this early, and for you for walking all the way from where you live to the Capitol. And thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week for Live at the Legislature. Aloha.